Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. We're here on the Joranalogue booth. You've got three new modules, right?
I do.
So let's have a look at them.
Well, so we have Enhance 2, Orbit 3 and Step 8. Those are new guys. Let's get started with Enhance 2. That's a stereophonic enhancer. So nowadays we have a lot of new stereo stuff coming out in eurorack. People getting more interested in adding extra dimension to the eurorack system. And that's exactly what Enhance 2 is for. It gives you way more stereo control, way more just spectral control, balance, width, everything you want to get your stereo image the way you want it. So we have our balance control, and I'll turn it up here so you can hear something. We have balance control, left, right. That's being modulated right now, so you can remove modulation. And this balance control is a true constant power balance law, so you don't get this dip in the middle. It sounds nice as you sweep across the stereo field. Of course, voltage controllable. You can do some interesting stuff, and that goes up to audio frequencies, no issues. Right next to it we have a width control, and that controls the stereo width, so we can go from a mono pair. Let's see, we can go from mono to stereo to extra wide stereo. Of course, then you can quickly run into phase modulation, phase correlation issues rather. So that's why on top of the module we have a phase correlation meter, and you can see exactly what's going on. If I turn up the sound again. So those LEDs visualize the difference between your stereo outputs left and right, and you can even see when they go into the negative part, into the red part, you can see your you can see if you're a phase issue between your stereo channels. And that's what's happened. So that's controlled by the width parameter, and of course whatever signal is going in there in the module. Next we have Midsize Processing. So the stereo pair is split into the mid component, which is common between left and right, and the side component, which is a difference between left and right. So your pure stereo part, let's say, the bit that makes stereo stereo. And we have a tilt filter on each of those, and the tilt filter gives you spectral control over the stereo image. I'll turn up the sound again. So what's happening there is we have a tilt filter, which is kind of filter that instead of modulating the frequency, you modulate the shape of it. So it goes from a high pass to central to low pass on the single control. And the corner frequency can be changed between two settings with the bass and treble switch that's underneath each of the knobs. And you get one of these filters, one of these tilt filters for the mid components and one of them for the side components. And that can be used, for example, to cut some highs from the mid part or enhance the highs on the side part. That allows you to avoid phase correlation issues, or just gives you nice effects. And these tilt filters, they're quite unique. They're completely new design, which gives you the ability to go all the way from a one-pole low pass to one-pole high pass, voltage controlled up to audio rates, separately on the mid and the side.
Brilliant. So do you have a kind of price point on that, or like where you're going to aim for, and what's the kind of time frame?
Yeah, so we're looking at 250 euros including tax in Europe, 250 US dollars in the States, and coming by the end of the year.
Brilliant. So yeah, let's move on to the next module.
Yeah, so next to Enhance 2 we have Orbit 3. And that's our new Chaos oscillator. So it has a lot of nice features about it, which are a bit missing from, I found, from a lot of the existing Chaos offerings. Now I'll just change a few cables here so we can demonstrate it properly. Let's see. What's going on? So we got some sounds, and we have something on the oscilloscope. And I'll change a few parameters. So a very wide range of sounds on there.
So what's kind of going on in that? It's because it's obviously it sounds to me like multiple kind of oscillators interacting with one another.
Yeah, but it's not.
Okay.
So Chaos is an interesting. It's actually a kind of mathematical theory. It's a whole field of mathematics, Chaos theory. Which is about usually quite simple systems which still exhibit very irregular, complex behavior. So it's an oscillator in there, and it's not much more complex than you would find in a standard oscillator, but because of some tricks in there, it has this very strange, irregular behavior to it. And you can look at it as a particle orbiting around two equilibrium points. And these points are modulated using the parameters on the module. So not just the points with the knobs and CV controls. So we move the points about throughout the 3D space. But we also have distribution control, which changes the width of the attractor. So the attractor is the system that's orbiting these 2 points.
So obviously we were listening to it at audio rates then,
yeah.
But from here it looks like that you can do low rates, low frequency as well. So you
Absolutely.
can use it as a modulation source.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a very wide frequency range on there, 7 minutes to 22 kilohertz. So it covers everything from super slow to across the audio range. And the audio rate is nice to demonstrate it because you get a nice views on the scope. But yeah, if I plug it into low frequency mode, you can see on the LEDs.
And this is so you get 6 outputs.
Yeah,
so that's a lot of output from a relatively small module.
So yeah, it's a 3-dimensional system. So we have X, Y, and Z outputs, and we also have inverted copies of those outputs on the bottom.
Excellent. So what kind of price point then is it? What are you kind of aiming for with the Orbit?
Orbit is, well, we're looking at 250 euros, including tax, or 250 USD in the States, and also coming by the end of the year.
Excellent. So yeah, let's move on to the third and final one then.
Yeah, step 8, the big one. So step 8 is it's something quite new in eurorack, as far as I know. It looks at first glance a bit like a sequencer, and let's do this. And we get a sequencer kind of thing going on. Actually, what's in there is a 1-to-8 sequential switch feeding into 8 track and hold circuits. And each of these track and hold circuits has its own LED attenuation slider, its own outputs, and we also have a scan output which will take the currently selected stage and output it here. So if I Now it's in solo mode, which means the inactive stages are being muted. In all mode, we can see the holding going on. And one thing we can do is take an output from orbit into the inputs, this, and we see the signal from orbits on this stage. I can go to the next one, and move this. I can go to the next one, and it moves across. And every time I go to the next one, it'll store the last voltage in that stage. And these are fully analog, high stability track and hold circuits.
So it seems like a kind of Swiss Army knife and can do lots of different things, right?
Exactly, because apart from the cycle mode, which is your sequential switch mode, it also has a shift mode, and now it becomes an 8-stage shift register, analog shift register. If I put it, it can also track or sample, so I put it in sample, and now we have our 8 stages of analog signals, analog sampled signals being shifted to the right on each step.
So these gate outputs at the bottom, is that a gate just based on what kind of output you're on, or is it how does the gate output correlate to the input?
Yeah, so the gate outputs, there's always one of them is active, as shown on the LEDs, and that's the currently active stage. And with the solo all switch, we can mute the inactive stages, the analog outputs of the inactive stages. So the gates, it shows you the currently active stage, and all the other stages are always holding. And if I put into track mode and in cycle mode, it's more obvious that's always the active stage that is tracking your inputs, and the others are holding the voltage. Now this doesn't have to be controlled sequentially. So we have our step input, we have pause, reset, reverse, all the usual. We can also do analog control, and now we're using Orbit 3's analog output voltage to move across the stages. And let's see, take an input voltage like this. That one would be interesting. Yeah, now it's taking an output from Contour 1, a looping LFO, and it's constantly tracking or sampling whatever this switch is set to across the stages. And it can also be shifted left and right, and maybe I can change this a bit. So or I can take another voltage like from filter 8.
So obviously in this kind of scenario so far, we've been using it to output control voltage or gates.
Yeah.
Can you input audio into it and then use it like a switch in that way to switch audio?
Exactly.
Okay.
And there's a lot of interesting circuit tricks in there to minimize the distortion, to get accurate pitch CV processing. So it'll take anything you want: audio, CV, pitch CV, gates if you want, and it'll perform perfectly transparently with any kind of signal.
Brilliant. So again, that same question again, but what's the kind of price point, and when are you, I'm guessing the end of the year sort of thing, right?
Well, step 8 needs a little bit more work. We're looking at early 2022 for that one, at a price point of 350 euros, including tax, $350 US.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.